Welcome to the Manifest with Ease podcast. I'm Vanessa Jaden, certified mindset and manifestation coach, and I'm here to help you manifest your dream life effortlessly. This podcast is all about making manifestation simple and fun. Each week, I'll share powerful tips and aligned strategies to help you attract abundance, success, and joy into your life. Get ready to unlock your magic and step into the life you've always dreamed of. No hustle required. Let's dive into today's episode of Manifest with Ease. Today is an exciting, juicy episode because we are going to be speaking all about alignment and embodiment. And I'm not just talking about the fluffy, okay, feel good, just be in full energy, but the kind of deep, grounded alignment that's going to help us to step into the abundant future that we are dreaming of right now. This episode is going to be all about preparing your energy, your mindset, and your embodiment so that the big wins that you are dreaming of aren't just some far-off vision, but something that you can actually start living today. I love September because it carries such a fresh, renewing energy. When I was living in South Africa, September was the beginning of spring, the beginning of flowers coming up and seeing blossoms everywhere and just that newness, that fresh start. But now living in Ireland, the seasons have kind of switched. So September now is kind of coming into autumn, but it is also the beginning of the school year. So there's still that fresh start feeling to it. And it's the start of moving into the season that I absolutely love, which is winter. So we still have this freshness and this renewing energy that is happening. And this is the great time to start embodying the version of you who wants to manifest everything that you want in the coming year. We have got four months left till the end of the year. I can't believe 2025 has disappeared so quickly, but in the next 4 months, I have some really big manifestations that I want in the new year. And I know that now is the time that I need to not just work towards that, but actually step into the version of me who already has that. So that is everything that we're going to be talking about today. And yeah, let's get started. So firstly, when I say embodiment, what does that actually mean? So embodiment is being that version of you who already has what you desire. I talk a lot about looking at manifestation as a lifestyle, not just tangible things that we want, maybe the car, the house, the job, the career, whatever it is, but looking at it as a lifestyle. So that's literally shifting into the thoughts, the feelings, the behaviors, and the energy of that version of us who already has that desire, that future you. So as we know with manifestation, we can't just sit back and say, I wish I had a lollipop, and boom, a lollipop's gonna appear in your hand. We know it doesn't work like that. There are specific steps, things that you need to actually do to be able to manifest whatever it is that you want to bring into your life, bring into your reality now. And one of the key steps is embodiment. This morning I was really blown away by my daily practice and my ideal day. You see, about a year or so ago, I sat down and I wrote down my ideal day. I wrote down exactly how I would like my mornings to start. So even though at the time I was working, I had a full-time job, and I had rushed mornings. It would be waking up, getting kids ready for school, getting myself ready to get out the door and to get to work. But I had this dream of just having soft mornings, waking up, having my coffee, journaling, that kind of thing. Well, this morning in my journaling practice, so one of my morning ritual practices is I used to come and just sit with a journal and just say whatever I'm feeling and just let it out. But that started getting a little bit mundane, and I started feeling like I was coming but not really having anything specific to journal about. So I created a wild card practice for myself. So I set up journaling prompts, and I've got about 50 prompts for every section, and I chose three very specific sections I wanted to work on. So the first one was energy and alignment, and then desire and magnetism, and then it was a future me pep talk. So future me coming and just asking me questions or giving me little prompts or even just making these statements, and then I'll journal around that. So it was quite insane this morning because my journal prompt was, if I already had my ideal income today, what would I do first? And the first thing that I wanted to do first was to have a nice cup of coffee and sit down and be journaling. And that's exactly what I was doing. And it just hit me like, the things that I wanted my ideal day to look like, the way I wanted it to start, is completely what I am living now. And it didn't just happen by chance, because at the point when I wanted that, I couldn't necessarily have it because of the way my morning started. But I could, on a weekend, start practicing that. On a weekend, I could practice stepping into that future version of me, the me now, who was able to start the morning with a coffee and with journaling. So by stepping into it in the moments that I could, it created the pathway for it to come to me, for me to have my manifestation now, and for me to bring it into life. So let's talk about the science of this embodiment work. So it's not just woo-woo, acting as if, believing that my future self is me now and I can get anything and everything that I want. But there's actually science behind this, you see. So firstly, we can look at neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is literally how your brain can rewire itself. Years ago, they believed that the brain couldn't change. Your thoughts were fixed. If you were a negative person, well, unfortunately for you, you were going to just stay a negative person for the rest of your life. But now through science and neuroplasticity, we can actually see that we can rewire our thoughts. We can rewire those pathways. We can rewire those patterns that are literally running our lives. At a subconscious level, your mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. And we see this by an experiment that was done some years ago where they took a whole group of basketball players and they split them up. And for one group, they said, okay, you practice shooting hoops every single day. For the next group, they said, okay, you visualize shooting hoops every day and with a little bit of practice. And then the third group, they said, okay, you do nothing except visualize shooting hoops. So what ended up happening was the group that did nothing but just visualized it, their performance improved with actually getting the shots into the hoop. So that just shows us that visualization, our imagination, is so powerful in changing our reality. So when you repeatedly, you visualize and you're embodying this version of you who has everything that you desire, then you are firing the same neural pathways as if it was happening right now. So what ends up happening is your brain starts making it comfortable for you to receive these things. Over time, what happens is those blocks that you might have, the things that are saying, no, you can't have that, that's never going to happen for you. It's almost as if they get a bit softer, and you strengthen in the possibilities and the beliefs. And then we can also look at the reticular activating system. Now, in short, that's called the RAS. And that is like your brain's filter. So I've spoken about this before. So if you look on some previous episodes, I have gone into detail about this. But basically what your RAS says, it filters out when you say, okay, this is important to me, this is what I want to focus on, so becoming the future version of myself, then your RAS starts filtering out things all around you, because we have so many things happening all around us. Your subconscious is literally taking in right now where you're sitting, what's next to you, how your feet are, your breathing. Everything that's happening to you is happening at a subconscious level, and this is so much information flooding into us all the time. But we might not need to have an importance to everything. So the RAS is going to say, okay, well, what's important? What does she need to know now? What things have to happen in her life now? So when you start focusing on the future version of you, like when I was focusing on my ideal day, my ideal morning, especially how I wanted it to start off, then synchronicities started happening. I started getting ideas, opportunities came my way, and I was able to make it happen in the now. I was able to actually live that experience. And then we have mirror neurons. So mirror neurons fire the moment you observe or you imagine yourself doing something. So when you're moving or you're speaking, maybe you're getting dressed like your desired self, your body starts to generate the emotional state that version of you will actually feel. I did a reel on Instagram where I spoke about shoes and how you can manifest and embody with shoes. So one of my dreams and something that I'm manifesting is that I want to be on stage. I want to talk and I want to share all things manifestation and subconscious reprogramming, because I just love it, and I believe that the more people that know this, we can literally change the world. If I'm not stepping into that version of me who already does that, it becomes very difficult. I might start making, let's say, a reel, and I'll press the start button, I'll start speaking, I'll fumble over my words, and then I'll stop, and then I'll try again, I'll stop, I'll try again, and then when I look, I've done 40 different takes, and I hate them all. And then I usually just okay, I'm just going to give up and I'm going to quit now because this is obviously not working. But that's where it's so empowering when we do the mindset stuff first, when we do the embodiment work first, put my feet into those heels, then it is as if I'm taking on that persona of the future me. Yes, I am ready. I'm here. I want to speak. And then when I come in front of the camera and I push the record button, it's as if my words flow out so much easier. And then, it's not always perfect first time. Sometimes it might be 1, 2, 3 takes, but it's not 40 and I feel like giving up at the end. I just increases my excitement. It's like, oh, that reel was very nice. Let's make another one. So these mirror neurons fire, and it just gives you that emotional state of that version of how that person feels. So emotion is magnetic energy, and your nervous system literally tunes itself to that frequency. And this is very, very powerful, especially in the world around us, because we don't see energy, but we feel energy. And at a subconscious level, we can feel somebody's energy. I mean, think about it. Sometimes you can walk into a room and just feel off. Be like, no, there's something just not right here. Or you might meet a person and they seem very nice and they sound very nice and they look very nice, but you just feel there's something off. And that is that energy that's happening. And everything that we're putting out in the world, if I'm coming and I'm sitting here recording this podcast, and let's say my energy is and heavy, and I'm not sure if anybody's going to listen to this podcast, and I really want to have a flourishing podcast, but it happens for other people, not for me. So when I arrive with that energy, even though you might not hear it in my voice, your subconscious will pick up little cues and pick up on my energy. And you might start listening to the podcast and then just being like, not really interested in this, and click away and go and listen or do something else. And that's why our energy is so important in everything that we do, because it attracts. And this is where we go to the next scientific principle, is like quantum physics. And energy attracts energy. So if you embodying the energy of the future version of you who already has what it is that you desire, then that energy is going to just automatically attract the things that you are desiring. It's going to put you in a space where your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions are lining up, which is going to create this almost this imaginary magnetic field, and that's going to pull in and match the experiences that you are wanting. Another example of this is, let's say for instance, your desire is financial freedom, and that is what you want to manifest. You want to manifest financial freedom. So the you version right now might go into your bank account and do, if you have a budget, fantastic, you updating your budget, or maybe you just going into the bank account just to see if there's enough money for the debit order that's going to go out tomorrow that you know is coming off, but you're not sure if there's actually money in the account. But when you look at your account, you're feeling this, almost this dread, this anxiety around your bills and your finances. However, the future you, she's already manifested financial freedom. She already has everything that she needs and that she wants. Take a moment and think about her logging onto her bank account. Does she feel the same dread, feel the same anxiety? No, of course not. She's logging into her bank account and she's got confidence, and all of her actions speak abundance. Her actions speak, well, there's more where this comes from. There's more where this comes from. And that's a little hack that you can use there. How I am always in financial abundance is every time I spend money or I invest money, I always say there's more where that comes from. And I have a very strict spreadsheet that I work on, and all my finances is worked out there. And honestly, the numbers should not add up, because what my spreadsheet says I should be having and I should be spending, there's kind of always this feeling of more. And sometimes I will have bought something during the month, something that wasn't planned, but it didn't actually affect my finances at all. And that is just that living in that abundant version of me now. So think about it in your life. So abundance isn't only around money. Abundance is a lifestyle. It's a feeling. It's an energetic way of living your life, because you could have the feeling of abundance of time. When I'm doing my morning ritual, there is no rush. There is no, I have to get this finished. I have to just quickly journal because there's the next rush. So my mornings are abundant in terms of just the feeling of time and that softness and the flow that I want in the mornings. And abundance can be in relationships. It can be through your family. Abundance is just, there's so much to it. So if you have to look at yourself and look at the future you, who is abundant, who has manifested all the things, the desires that you have, whether it's around a certain income through your business or just financial freedom, or whether it is your lifestyle, how you wake up, how you spend your mornings, maybe your weekends look different, your future version of you, her weekends are different to your weekends, Start looking at that and asking yourself, okay, well, how does future me, how does she show up now? What does she think? What does she believe? What does she do? How does she show up? What is her emotional state? How does she make decisions? Going to your future version of you when you need to make a decision is so powerful, because you can say to yourself, okay, well, future version of me, would she make this decision? Let's say you have an opportunity. Would you take this opportunity? And then you look at future me and you realize, this opportunity is not going to lead me into the direction of the future version of me, because this might take you off on a different place. In terms of the science, embodiment is literally basically teaching your brain, your body, and the energy to recognize your desire as though it is already normal. And once you living in that normality, literally the world around you is rearranging itself to match you. I spoke earlier saying, like, for the next 4 months, I'm really going to be working on the embodiment of future me, just so that my manifestations that I want for next year are going to be in alignment. Based on that, I know I have to do a lot more of the inner work and not as much of the strategy, because sometimes we can, especially if you're an entrepreneur, it's like the strategy is going to fix everything. I need to have a new social media platform, or maybe I should be on all the social media platforms. That's a good strategy. Or maybe I should have this or that. And you hear it all the time online. Some internet marketer or a coach, my system is the best and only this system will work. And you need this in order to grow your following. And you need this to attract your dream clients. And you need this to make more sales. And I'm not bashing any of those things, because most of those things do work for the person who is promoting it, or it might work for a certain group of people who have maybe similar interests, similar personality styles, that kind of thing. But the key is when you're doing the inner work, then taking inspired action becomes so much easier, because then you are open and you're available to see the synchronicities, to see the opportunities that are coming towards, and you're not gonna literally fall for every little thing that's coming your way. Do this better, do that, this strategy, that strategy. Yeah, here's some ideas that I do that you could look at adding into your day. But like I said, it has to work for you. I love journaling. Journaling has changed my life. It has helped me overcome so many blocks, and it's helped me to identify blocks that I was blind to. I couldn't even see it. So for me, journaling is very powerful. But not everybody loves journaling. So just because it works for me doesn't mean that you have to journal in order to create your ideal day. It is your ideal day, so you get to choose what it is that you want. And start looking at, okay, when I wake up in the morning, how do I want to wake up? Like, do you want to have an alarm clock buzzing? Do you just naturally want to wake up? Do you want to wake up with breakfast in bed? I mean, whatever it is, it's your day. You get to decide how you want your ideal day to look. So what I did was I went and I looked at future me, and I looked at, okay, well, what kind of day does she have? How does she map out and plan her day? So she starts with soft mornings, journaling, cup of coffee, then doing some qigong. She does some meditation now and again, because meditation doesn't always work for her. So she has certain little rituals that she'll use now and again. She does EFT tapping, and she does visualization, and she's got scripting in there also. And those are just like a few ideas, and you can take whatever from that. And when you're doing your morning ritual, and I think this is where a lot of people get stuck, is they think they have to have this to-do list. Okay, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this. And that's not always the case. You have to do what works for you. So if sitting down and having a cup of coffee and just being with your thoughts, if that's good for you and that sets up your day, then that's your morning routine and that's done. You don't have to have, okay, now I have to drink my coffee, I have to journal, then I've got to visualize, then I've got to do some scripting, and then I've got to pull my tarot card and see what's going to happen for the day. It doesn't work like that. You make space to be available for the inner work, but you don't have to follow a to-do list. How does your future version show up every single day? And based on that, how can you start implementing some of those things now in your life? It doesn't have to be everything. Like I said, my soft mornings started on weekends. Or how can you just visualize and script your ideal day so that through your imagination and the neuroplastic rewiring, you can bring that into your life. So with that was actually quite a mouthful and a longer podcast than what I usually do, but this work is so important. I would say if you chucked out like everything else with manifestation and you just focused on this, you will have more chance of actually getting your manifestation than focusing on all the other steps and missing this one. This one is really key. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So I have recently opened up some magnetic reset sessions. These are one-on-one sessions where we can come together and we can work on resetting anything that you want to, breakthroughing anything that you want to. And if you want to step into the version of yourself in real time on your timeline, we can do a session around that also. So I will leave the link in the show notes, but if you go to vanessajaden.com/magnetic-reset, you'll get the link there. And yes, spaces are limited. I don't have too many spots available, but you can go and book your session there. And that brings us to the end of this week's session, this week's podcast episode. And I look forward to whatever brings next week, because honestly, I have a list of 101 different podcast episode ideas, but I don't know what will be next week. So let's see what future me brings into the now. Very exciting. As always, embody, believe, and manifest.